At 73, Audrey Meadows finally told the truth about Jackie Gleason. Audrey Meadows was born Audrey Carter on February 8, 1922 in Wuchang, China. She was the youngest of 5 kids, and Audrey grew up in a very strict and well-behaved home. When things in China became really dangerous because of fighting, her family moved back to the United States and settled in Massachusetts, where Audrey's love for performing started to grow. From the time she was little, she loved music, plays, and making people laugh, things that would later become important in her long and exciting career. Before she became a famous name, Audrey started her work life on the stage. She worked really hard in theater, acting in small shows, and becoming known for her funny timing and lovely charm. She finally made her way into the world of television, which was still brand new in the late 1940s and early 1950s. Her big moment came when she was chosen to be the sharp-tongued but lovable Alice Cramden on The Honeymooners, acting with Jackie Gleason. It was a role that would make her famous in television history. Alice, the smart, no-nonsense wife of bus driver Ralph Cramden, became one of the most famous characters in American comedy show history. Meadows' acting touched people's hearts. She perfectly mixed sarcasm and kindness. Playing the patient but loving wife always had the last word. What's interesting is that Audrey was not the first actress to play Alice Cramden. The role had first been played by Bert Kelton during the Honeymooners sketches in the Jackie Gleason show. However, when Kelton was forced to leave the program, supposedly because of being blacklisted during the McCarthy era, Meadows tried out for the part. The story goes that when Jackie Gleason first saw her photo, he said no because she was too pretty for the role. Wanting to prove herself, Meadows had new pictures taken, this time with her hair in curlers, wearing no makeup, and dressed in a plain housecoat. The change worked. Gleason right away saw her as Alice, the working-class wife with toughness and humor, and gave her the part. That brave move became a big moment in Meadows' career, showing both her smarts and her love for her work. The Honeymooners ran for only 39 classic episodes in its original form from 1955 to 1956, but its effect was huge. Those episodes have been shown again countless times over the years, introducing new groups of people to Ralph and Alice's funny fights and sweet months. Meadows' connection with Gleason was magical. The pair's funny rhythm set the example for countless comedy show couples that came after. While Gleason's loud energy filled the screen, it was Meadows' calm wit and realistic acting that gave the show its emotional balance. Her way of playing Alice was amazing for its time. She wasn't a quiet housewife, but rather a strong, smart woman who stood up for herself in every argument. And beyond The Honeymooners, Audrey Meadows enjoyed a successful and different career in television and movies. She appeared in many guest roles on popular series including The Love Boat, That Girl, Love American Style, and Too Close for Comfort. She also had returning roles in Alice and later became a well-known face in talk shows and game shows where her quick humor and confidence shine through off-camera. Meadows showed amazing business smarts. She was one of the first television actresses to ask for money from reruns, a decision that made sure she would keep getting paid from reruns of The Honeymooners for many years. Her smart thinking made her a trailblazer for actors' rights in a time when few performers understood the future value of their work. In her later years, Audrey Meadows kept acting sometimes, but she also started writing. Her book, Loveless, My Life as a Honeymooner, came out in 1994 and gave fans a close-up look into her experiences on and off the set. The book was both honest and warm, looking back on her early struggles, her rise to fame, and her memories of working with Gleason and the cast. Even as her health got worse because of lung cancer in the early 1990s, she stayed active and positive, always showing thankfulness for the opportunities her career had given her. In 1956, during the height of her fame from The Honeymooners, Audrey Meadows got married for the first time to Randolph Riss, a rich real estate businessman who was part of the successful after-war property boom in America. At that time, Meadows was enjoying huge popularity as Alice Cramden, the quick-witted and strong-willed wife of Ralph Cramden, played by Jackie Gleason. Her marriage to Rouse got attention from both Hollywood and wealthy circles, as each wed the joining of show business and big money. Two exciting worlds that often interested the public. Even though they were both successful, the marriage didn't last long. The demands of Audrey's acting career, along with Riss's work in huge real estate deals, created a lifestyle filled with distance and different goals. The relationship finally ended, and the couple quietly went their separate ways, leaving Meadows to focus again on her work life and personal growth. Several years later, Audrey Meadows found love again, this time with a man whose power and fame matched her own celebrity. On August 24, 1961, she married Robert F. Six, the brilliant president and CEO of Continental Airlines, in a ceremony held in Honolulu, Hawaii. Six was a well-known person in the airplane business, given credit for changing Continental from a small local carrier into one of the nation's major airlines. Their marriage marked a new part in Audrey's life, one filled with travel, style, and power. The union brought her into a world of business leaders, politicians, and internationalities. Yet, she kept the warmth and down-to-earth humor that had made her loved on television. Friends often said that Audrey and Robert completed each other perfectly. Her charm and intelligence balanced his drive and business skills. Their marriage lasted for 25 years, a really long time by Hollywood standards, and they became one of the time's most respected and lasting couples. During her marriage to Six, Meadows took on a new role as both a helpful wife and a smart observer of the airline business. She often went with her husband on business trips, statements, and company gatherings. Learning a lot about the business world, Audrey's wit and grace made her a popular person among business leaders and their spouses, and she often served as an unofficial representative for Continental Airlines. Her ability to mix the glamour of Hollywood with the proper behavior of the business world made her an admired in both areas. Though she kept acting sometimes, her attention shifted toward her personal life and charity work, showing a grown-up attitude and grace that came with her new social position. Sadly, their long partnership came to an end when Robert F. Six passed away on October 6, 1986. His death was a huge loss for Audrey, who had stood by his side through his career's successes and problems. She later looked back on their years together with deep love, often calling him the great lovey of her life. In the years after his death, Audrey continued to honor his memory, keeping connections to the airplane community and treasuring the life they had built together. For many who knew her, this marriage showed a side of Audrey Meadows that went beyond the television screen, a woman of intelligence, loyalty, and quiet strength, who handled the worlds of entertainment and big business with amazing grace. As Audrey Meadows reached her 70s, she had lived long enough to think about the highs and lows of her amazing career, and about the man who had both challenged and shaped much of it, Jackie Gleason. For many years, audiences around the world knew them as Ralph and Alice Cramden, the fiery yet loving couple from The Honeymooners, one of the most beloved comedy shows in television history. But in the laughter, there were moments of tension, respect, admiration, and unspoken truths that only Audrey herself could truly explain. When she was 73, she finally decided to speak up about her relationship with Gleason, sharing the real dynamics that existed between two of television's most unforgettable performers. Jackie was a genius, she began, her voice still warm and steady despite theirs. He was unpredictable, moody, and sometimes impossible to work with, but my goodness, he was brilliant. Meadows had spent years defending Gleason in interviews, but she admitted that working with him was never easy. Gleason wanted perfection. He hated rehearsals, liking spontaneity instead, and that often left his co-stars trying hard to keep up. Audrey, however, quickly learned how to match his energy. The trick, she said, was to never let him see you nervous. Jackie respected strength. If you stood your ground, he'd meet you halfway. If you didn't, he'd steamroll right over you. Audrey said that her tryout for The Honeymooners almost never happened because Gleason at first didn't want her. He thought I was too glamorous, shelled quietly. He said, Alice Cramden has dishpan hands. She's no beauty queen, so I had to prove him wrong. Determined to win the part, she had a photographer take a bunch of plain, unflattering pictures of her. No makeup, messy hair, and wearing an old housecoat. She sent those photos straight to Gleason. When Jackie saw them, he called me and said, "You've got the job." That shows stubborn he was and how stubborn I could be too. But despite his gruffness, Gleason had a side few people ever saw. Audrey described him as deeply emotional underneath his loud voice and tough outside. Jackie could be very kind, she said. If you were loyal to him, he never forgot it. There were times he'd go out of his way to protect us, the cast, the crew, but he'd never admit it. He liked Pleto think he was all thunder and no heart. She paused, remembering on a special moment on set when Gleason stopped acting during a difficult scene. He stopped, looked at me, and said, "You know, Meadows, you're the best partner a guy could ask for." He turned and walked off before anyone else could hear. That was Jackie, full off opposites, but able to show deep love. Still, their working relationship had its storms. "Oh, we fought," she admitted with a knowing smile. "We yelled. We'd go toe to toe about timing, about lines, about what Alice would or wouldn't say, but that's why the show worked. The tension you saw on screen, it was real, but it was never mean. Jackie and I respected each other too much to let it get personal." She pointed out that Gleason's temper could explode without warning, but it always went away as quickly as it came. He'd bark at everyone in the room, then buy them dinner 2 hours later. He wasn't mean. He was just passionate. In her later years, Audrey thought about how Gleason's demanding ways had taught her important lessons about comedy and timing. "He taught Method the truth in comedy comes from pain," she said. "That's what made Ralph and Alice so believable. They were two people struggling, arguing, but loving each other through it all." Jackie understood that deeply. She also admitted that Gleason's raw honesty sometimes scared her, but in the end helped her grow. "He'd say things no one else would dare say. He'd look at me after a scene and go, 'You're too careful, Meadows. Stop acting. Feel it.' That advice changed everything for me." When asked if she ever felt angry about his control or ego, Audrey shook her head. "No, Jackie earned his reputation, good and bad. He carried the weight of the whole show on his shoulders, and that's not easy. The pressure made him difficult, but it also made him great. Without Jackie, there would be no Honeymooners. And without the Honeymooners, my career would have been something totally different." Toward the end of her thoughts, Audrey's tone softened. "I miss him," she confessed. "People don't realize how much heart he had. Jackie could make you furious on a minute and make you laugh till you cried the next. When he passed, a part of television and a part of me went with him." At 73, Audrey Meadows was no longer the young housewife trading jokes with Ralph Cramden. She was an experienced actress looking back on a lifetime of laughter, struggle, and art. Her memories of Jackie Gleason were not of bitterness or regret, but of thankfulness. Thankfulness for having shared the stage with a man who challenged her, inspired her, and helped create television magic that still lives on. "Jackie and I," she finished, "were like Ralph and Alice. We fought, we laughed, we drove each other crazy. But underneath it all, there was love. And that's the truth I finally want people to know." For most of her life, Audrey Meadows had been a regular smoker, a habit she had picked up in her early years in show business when cigarettes were as much a part of Hollywood as bright lights and applause. But by the mid-1990s, her once strong health began to get worse. In 1995, doctors told her of terrible news, lung cancer. They gave her a year to live. True to her dignified and practical nature, Meadows refused to go through the tough treatments that might have made her live longer but would have taken away her comfort and grace. Instead, she chose palliative care, facing her illness with quiet courage and the same calmness that had defined her both on and off screen. As her condition got worse, she was admitted to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, where she slipped into a coma. On February 3, 1996, just 5 days before what would have been her 74th birthday, Audrey Meadows passed away peacefully, leaving behind a legacy of wit, warmth, and timeless performances. Her death marked the end of an era for fans who had adored her as Alice Cramden, the sharp-tongued yet loving wife in The Honeymooners, and admired her elegance and intelligence in every public appearance after that.